We are extremely delighted and have the utmost pleasure in having you attend our Eid celebration dinner tonight. American Turkish Friendship Association, I just would like to mention a few words about ATFA, American Turkish Friendship Association. Was established in 2003 as a non-profit and non-governmental organization. And we have 13 other branches in neighboring states as well in Virginia. ATFA is dedicated to serving the community by promoting peace and spirit of friendship through dialogue and understanding. We strive to turn our differences into diversity and richness rather than chaos or conflicts. ATFA believes that men and women can collaborate and work for the benefit of the entire community under one roof regardless of their ethnic, cultural, and religious backgrounds. We strongly believe that if every individual does their part, we can build a better community to live in harmony together. This is why we are proud of hosting you tonight together. Thanks so much for joining our dinner, Eid celebration dinner tonight. Inshallah, in our program, we have Imam Zia with us tonight from Make Space Masjid. He's going to give speech about the meaning of Eid al Adha, inshallah. And then we have Mr. Emre Çelik from Rumi Forum, DC. He's going to give his speech later. Thank you so much. Please give hand to Imam Zia.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن والاه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين صدق الله العظيم. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here and in front of you distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I'm not worthy of speaking to you, of informing you or educating you, but I'll just try to share some reflections and some thoughts on this blessed occasion of the celebration of Eid al Adha and a belated Eid Mubarak to all of you. One of the things about Eid al Adha is that it is celebrated on that day of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, and this in the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is referred to as the greatest of all days. So if you think about the greatest of all nights, it's Laylatul Qadr, which is not known. We have to strive to make sure that our worship coincides with that night. So it's not really known, it has been hidden so that we will strive to seek it. As far as the greatest of all days is concerned, it is the day of Eid al Adha. It's the day of Eid al Adha, and on this day, the Prophet, peace be upon him, has said that there is no greater action, no greater deed that a believer performs than the sacrifice. And there is a meaning behind the sacrifice that is not often talked about. And that meaning is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his son Ismail alayhi salam, there is a finer point in that story that is often neglected. And that point is that through this act of sacrifice, through this replacement of Ismail alayhi salam with a ram, what was basically heralded was a new era of sacrificing for the human being, rather than sacrificing the human being. Throughout the human history, if we look in different civilizations, and archaeology has unearthed a lot of those evidences for that, is that there were always rituals and cultural norms and acts of worship that had to do with sacrificing fellow human beings. Sacrificing human beings for the sake of a god, sacrificing human beings for the sake of a king that was now considered a god and was worshipped like a god. There are tombs that are uncovered where there is a king and there's tens of other people that are buried with him, and there are no signs of trauma, no signs of, no evidence that these people were murdered. And so it looks like these people voluntarily sacrificed themselves. Some kind of ritual that, believe that these people will go with the king to the next life, and them being there with him will be a source of comfort for him, or will raise his status, or whatever it may be. There are stories, even in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the story of Bani Israel when Fir'aun decreed that all males of Bani Israel are supposed to be slaughtered. يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَهُم. In pre-Islamic Arabia, people used to bury their daughters alive. They used to sacrifice them, and the Quran talks about them being buried because of shame, because daughters were, it was just a shame to have a daughter, and also because of al-imlaq, because people were scared of poverty, not being able to provide for them. But it also has religious origins, that back in the day, people used to sacrifice their daughters for the sake of their gods, for the sake of idols. So a new page was turned when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Ibrahim alayhi salam to sacrifice his son, yet he never meant for his son to be sacrificed. Number one, what was meant by this was to test Ibrahim alayhi salam's faith and his conviction. And as always, Ibrahim alayhi salam passed with flying colors. The same way in which he passed when he was thrown into the fire. Jibreel came to him and said, "Do you need any help?" And he said, "From you I need nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what I need right now." So he always passed. And in this case, he passed his test. And he didn't question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without hesitation, without even giving it a second thought, he went to his son and he said, "Ya abati, inni ara fil manami, ya bunayya inni ara fil manami anni adbah." That, "Oh my son, I have seen in my dream that I'm supposed to slaughter you." And he said, "Ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar." Like father, like son. He said, "Ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar." Do what you have been commanded to do. So that was one thing, to test the faith of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, and to show us as an example what kind of conviction he had in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the other more important thing that this event signifies and teaches us is that the era of sacrificing other human beings should now come to an end. The era of sacrificing human beings for other human beings is done, and now it is time, through this ram being sacrificed in place of Ibrahim, Ismail alayhi salam, we were taught that we are now supposed to sacrifice for each other. We were supposed to sacrifice for each other, and we are supposed to strive to be there for one another, and we're supposed to be people of mercy and compassion and generosity. We're supposed to be people who are followers and who emulate the character of the person who is called Rahmatul lil Alameen, of a deen, of a religion which says وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْمَرْحَمَةِ, that they advise one another and strengthen one another and are there for one another, to be people of marhama, al-marhama, compassion and love and giving and generosity. That's what the story teaches us. And what it also teaches us is that, let alone sacrificing yourself, your fellow human being, for a fellow human being, for a king, for whoever it has a higher status, let alone that, you're not even supposed to sacrifice your fellow human being for God. Like Ismail alayhi salam, his slaughter was prevented, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced him with a ram to show us exactly that you are not allowed to put people in harm's way in the name of religion. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us the straight path, set an example for us through this story of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salam. Did humanity follow that? Of course not. They continued to sacrifice each other. They continued to bury their daughters alive. Until this day, in different forms, human beings sacrifice one another. You have large armies and governments decide to go to a war on a false pretext, and hundreds of thousands of people die. Nobody cares about the military. It's their duty, it's their job to go and die, and it's also their job to go and kill others. This is another way of sacrificing. This is another a postmodern ritual of sacrificing our fellow human beings. But Islam came to save us from that. When the Prophet ﷺ entered Mecca with nothing but humility, tawadu, with his head lowered and his tears flowing, and he had just conquered these people who had abused him and persecuted him for many, many years. Yet he came and he forgave all of them, and he overheard someone say, Al-Yawm Yawmul Malhama, today is the day of slaughter. There will be bloodbath here. We will take revenge. Yet the Prophet ﷺ told him, and then stopped him from saying that, and reprimanded him and told him, Al-Yawm Yawmul Marham, Bal Al-Yawm Yawmul Marham. Rather, today is a day of Al-Marham, of compassion, and of forgiveness, and of mercy, and of taking the high road. And so the lessons of Eid al Adha are abundant, and there are lessons that we can obviously learn today and apply to our lives. As American Muslims, alhamdulillah, we are a privileged community. We have our challenges. We have the anti-Muslim bigotry and hatred out there. We have the politicians for whom the easiest and most convenient target is Muslims. And despite all of that, we would not even think to trade places with those people who are oppressed around the world, regardless of where they live, whatever they're going through. We are a community, alhamdulillah, that is a community of privilege, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with so much. And we have our challenges, we have our enemies out there, the Islamophobes, but we also have people that love us, that are there to support us, and there are people that are fence-sitters, that are sitting there waiting to be informed. It's like the people that were protesting that masjid, and when they entered the masjid, the Muslims wisely invited them, and they entered the masjid and the Muslims talked to them. They had t-shirts that cursed Islam. Yet when they entered the masjid, those same people came out saying that we have totally been transformed. We saw these people, these are amazing people, these are regular people, these are people of compassion, of mercy, these are people of God, they believe in God, they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as a privileged community, and I think it's very important for us to look at ourselves not as a victim community, but as a privileged community, as a blessed community, as people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold accountable for all the blessings that He has given us. It's our duty to reach out to others, to exemplify the character of the Prophet ﷺ. When he said, Bal al-yawm yawmul marhama, rather today is a day of marhama, and mercy and compassion, regardless of what our condition is. Our principles should always be rooted in compassion, humanity, and mercy. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام stampede and Hajj, accept them as shuhada and forgive them and bless them. and give their families comfort and patience. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
And I would like to invite Emre Çelik, Mr. Emre Çelik from Rumi Forum, DC. Please give a hand to Emre Çelik. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. A belated Eid Mubarak to one and all. Thank you. Really, my words are words of thanks for the continued support we gain from your presence here this evening. Of course, Eid is about bringing people together around the issues and remembrance of sacrifice. We share in a meal that, of course, we forget sometimes, but someone or something has been sacrificed for us to enjoy this evening. So around this theme of sacrifice, organizations like the ATFA, the Rumi Forum, continue to serve you as you continue to serve us, to give us energy, to motivate us to serve the wider community. Rumi Forum in its 16th year takes pride in the activities that it involves itself, primarily focused originally around the ideals of greater intercultural and interfaith understanding and dialogue. We've grown to include issues around, of course, peace building and social justice as well. And one aspect of this, of course, is interfaith dialogue, being able to reach out to members of the diverse American Muslim community to share in the goodwill of the wider American community and our friends throughout Washington, D.C. We have one upcoming project that I think will interest each and every one of you as people of faith, particularly as we've seen quite difficult images of our brethren, Syrians, the Syrian refugees, as they make their way, the exodus out of Syria into Lebanon, Jordan, and into Turkey and through Turkey to various European countries. No doubt we've all been moved by the images of that young child, the images of various refugee families facing quite traumatic experiences as they enter Europe, as they try to enter to Europe. Some of them more accepting than others, some of them opening the doors much wider than others. And in our third year now, we've been garnering the support of various counties, among them Fairfax County, Arlington, Loudoun, Alexandria, and various churches and synagogues and non-faith organizations. And this year, in our third year, will continue by way of a blanket drive. That drive will commence in October. Final preparations, I should say, in November. So you will hear about that in the coming weeks. So I would espouse you and the communities that you belong to more than just your family and your networks. Please let those around you, in terms of your mosques or your community centers, let them know of this drive. There are opportunities to actually collect blankets. If you know of centers that would, or mosques or other areas that would like to be drop-off points, by all means, please contact Van Arbe from ATFA. Last 2 years, we've averaged about 20,000 blankets last year. On top of the blankets, another $100,000 was collected as well. There is nothing easier, particularly for the average American, than to be able to donate a blanket. And in light of those dire conditions in which we see those people, the Syrian refugees, I think it's not going to be too much of a hard sell, not to only involve your community, but your neighbors, your colleagues, to play a part. So I would urge you, really in that spirit of sacrifice, in the spirit of Eid al Adha. We know Ibrahim alayhi salam put his son through that test. He was placed through that test. And God forbid that any of us are placed through that. But we know people are, that they put their children, their sons and their daughters through a test that no doubt they would not want to volunteer themselves, but fate, through circumstance, has placed them to sacrifice their spouses, their children, to enter strange lands, to enter, to be met with strange people, if you will. So keep that in mind, please, as we send out reminders, not only of your own personal sacrifice, be it through a blanket or through a donation, but to really involve every single American around you. This is something that's very simple to allow others to become involved in, and in light of everything that we've seen, I don't want to repeat myself too often, but it is a very serious and dire circumstances. And I've had the, if you will, the fortune or the difficulty of visiting Syrian refugees in southeast Turkey last year. Very, very difficult circumstances. I took groups of 2 Americans on 2 different occasions, and more than what you see on television, it really needs to be lived, to be able to sense at least an inkling of the difficulty they're going through. And these are the best of the lot, the ones we saw in Turkey that were somewhat settled, that were living in makeshift tents and what have you, but very difficult circumstances. So again, I urge you, as part of your duty as people of faith, to put in that much more sacrifice. We are very comfortable in our surroundings here in the United States. So we can't take for granted everything that is bestowed upon us, both by the state and of course the Almighty. So anything you can do, and no doubt I believe that each and every one of you can do a lot, both personally in terms of your own ability to give up a blanket or 2 or 3, and your ability to spread this message beyond the 4 walls of this building. So thank you, as always, for your support, and we look forward to other opportunities in which to engage with you. Again, a belated Eid Mubarak. Good night.